In this video, I want to describe a little bit about the position property. So the position property gives you, as the programmer, a little more control over how elements will appear on your page and where they appear on your page. There are 4 different values for the position property. These are static, relative, fixed, and absolute. The static positioning is the default positioning. The relative positions the element relative to its default. So if its default is to appear one after another element, you can slightly move where it appears. So let me demonstrate that one first. It's probably the easiest. Notice in this example right here what they're doing for CSS. So they have the position property and they make it relative. Now this relates to the content div. That's this guy right here. They're changing the left, shifting left over, and they're changing the top, shifting the top down just slightly. So you can see that relative to its original default starting position, it would appear right here, it has moved a little. Okay, so let's give that a try ourselves. Now I've already created an HTML. I have an H1 and I have a P, and I just want to show you what that looks like with no changes. Okay, so here is my H1, here's my P, and I just want to add, what if we don't like all of this spacing between the two, and we want to shift the historic bridge title down just a little bit. So here's where in your styling, you're now going to modify the H1 styling, and you're going to add the position element. So I'm going to make the position relative, and I'm going to change the top by moving it down. When you move it down, your top value is positive. If you're going to move it up, it is negative. So it is moving away from where it originally was. So if I go with a positive value and I go with, let's just go with a very extremely large amount so that you can see what might happen. I'm going to go with 50 pixels. Now that's not extremely large, but it's large enough so that it'll cause problems. All right, and again, the video is not letting me page over to the other screen, so I'll have to stop. Okay, so here I'm going to refresh, and notice that was 50 pixels down from the top. Let's go back and change that. Now, obviously, 50 is too much, so maybe something more like 20 will get us closer, not 200, will get us closer to what we want. Going back again. Oh, okay, refresh this page. All right, and there we go. That's a lot better, right? And it took out some of that white space maybe I didn't want. So again, you can play around with this. The relative positioning is relatively easy to use compared to some of the other ones. Excuse the bad pun, but it really is compared to the fixed and the absolute. So let's talk a minute about fixed positioning. The fixed positioning positions the element relative to the viewport. That means what you're seeing on your screen, and you can position it in a fixed location. This is useful, and you may have seen this where you have images on a page and you scroll down, the image stays and the image the image stays and the text scrolls. Absolute is it's similar in a sense, but it's relative to the nearest positioned ancestor. So whatever the parent-child is above it, it's going to be relative to that. So let's give the fixed a try. Let me just move over. I don't recall where my file is. I'm going to pause the video and go find my file. Okay, what you're looking at here is just some text that I grabbed from a website. I went to Wikipedia and just copied a bunch of text. Let me show you. I don't have any images or anything. I just have a header and 2 paragraphs. So I want to show you what that looks like as a default display. So here is the default display. Right, and so here is the heading. Here are the paragraphs. Okay. Now what I want to do is add an image and put that image in a fixed location. So I'm going to put an image here in between, and I already downloaded an image here, so that's what you're. Okay, let me save it, and let's look at what that looks like. All right, so you should know what this looks like. It's going to go in sequential order. It does the H1 first, then it does the image, and then it does the paragraph. What if you want the paragraph to appear here so that you can have your image here, and then as you scroll, it keeps the image on the page? Well, I don't know if I have enough text. Let me just increase the font size to make that happen first. So on the P tag, let's increase the font size. And again, that's just so that we have a lot, so that we can scroll a lot of text. I'll do 24 pixels. That might be wild because I do have the screen zoomed in. All right, now, and for your image, let's make our position fixed and see how screwy-looey this looks. Let's see what we need to do here. Okay, so this is what's happening here. You can see that the image came forward and the paragraph went behind. Then you can also see that that is not exactly what we want. So what if we make the paragraph's width much smaller? Well, let's see what that does for us. So if we change the width of the paragraph to not be the size of the body, let's say we make it 600 pixels in size. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, and you can see that that doesn't get us what we want. 600 pixels in size, yes, the text shows smaller, but notice it's still not showing to the right. What if I make the paragraph a relative position and I move the relative position the left side all the way over here, right? And so that should give me what I'm looking for. So now keep in mind that there are many ways to do this to accomplish what you want. This is one way. Okay, and if I do that and I say that the left is, I don't know, depends on the width of the image, right? Okay, let's take a look at that. Still not enough. What if I make it 7? Okay, better. And now if I scroll down, notice what happens with the image. The image stays in place in the viewport so that you can use it, the user can see it as they're scrolling down. All right, so that's your fixed positioning, and you can play around with different ways. Let me just put my code up again so you can see what that looks like. For absolute positioning, I want to use the example in your book because I feel like that's really good example. Here's your HTML. So take a look at the HTML first. You have an outer div, and remember a div is nothing more than a way of grouping your elements together. So you have an outer div that has an ID called container, and then inside the div you have another div called cheer, and cheer says go fight win, right? So it has some content to show. Here's the content that shows. Now take a look at what they've done with the positioning. Here they've changed the outer div to have a relative positioning, assigned a height and a width to it. Okay, and they've also given it a border, so you can see the green border, and you can see what the difference from container to its child cheer is going to be. So now cheer is absolute. It's absolute compared with to its parent. So inside of its parent, you've given it an absolute position. So it's always going to be 40 over, right? So 40 pixels on the left-hand side and down 30 pixels. So 30 from the top down. That's its absolute position. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see that if you didn't give the outer one the relative positioning, it doesn't have the same, right? It's going from the body. It's counting it, right, from the outer container. But if you look at absolute positioning, there's one other thing that's called the Z-index, and the Z-index indicates in what order things should appear. So you can start to layer things, right? So this is by default. If you look at this HTML, you have orange, then blue, then green. Okay, so orange, then blue, then green. But you can rearrange things on your page by giving it a z-index. So notice that for green now, they've given it a z-index of 1, then a z-index of 2 on blue, and then a z-index of 3 on orange, and that reverses the order. So 1 will be the bottom, then 2 will layer on top of the 1, and then 3 layers on top of the 2. And so what I recommend is take a minute to work on this exercise right here, and it allows you to practice your absolute positioning using the z-index. Okay, and if you have questions or have issues with this, please contact me. I would like you to give it a try. I think it'll give you a good idea of how the absolute positioning using the z-index will work.